Man, I freaking love vertical handhelds. Most of these play the retro stuff amazing, but sometimes I want to play higher end stuff like Dreamcast and GameCube and PS2. If only we got an updated vertical handheld that fixed all the problems of the previous generations and played high end stuff. Hi?
Greetings, noble gamer. I'm the illustrious RG406V.
I see you have a crown. Let me guess.
That's right, TechDweeb. I am king, the sovereign of vertical handhelds.
Right.
Yes, truly. I have come to rule the realms of retro gaming with uncompromising power and grace, and thumbsticks of glory.
Alright, let's see what you got.
Onwards to victory. TechDweeb,
Yeah?
could you plug me in real quick? I think I used all my battery being regal.
There's been so many ups and downs for us vertical doodad enthusiasts. There are tons of great devices to suit your needs, depending on your needs. If you want something retro focused and pocket sized, if you want something with a bit more power, if you want a bigger screen, pretty much all your bases are covered. The RG405V is the previous most powerful vertical handheld. It could handle everything up to Dreamcast no problem and some decent GameCube and PS2, but it kind of stopped there. It's been ages since we've had an updated powerful vertical device, and most companies aren't making them. So when the RG406V was announced and we learned that it had the same basic system and design as the 405V, it was so similar in so many ways that I think lots of reviewers wrote it off as just more of the same. And that's what I thought at first too. But I was wrong, as usual. This isn't just more of the same. It's similar to the RG405V at a superficial level, but it's worlds apart where it counts. I love it way more than I thought I would, for reasons that I'll explain. And if you're a vertical handheld dweeb like me, then you should probably swear loyalty to the new vertical doodad king, because I don't think we're gonna have something to replace this for a while.
My kingdom thrives under my reign.
Yep, just don't let it get to your head, okay?
Fear not. My crown is already quite snug, thank you very much.
Did you make that yourself?
A king make his own crown. Where did you get such a crazy idea like that?
Yeah, of course you didn't.
I'm the king.
Yeah, you already said that. Also, I'm sorry that it's taken me so long to review this. Anbernic doesn't send me stuff, even though I've asked them nicely. But luckily there are stores like Lit NXT that help me out. They sent this to me to share with you, so you should probably buy it from them if you want one, and there's a link in the doodad below. The specs are the first area that we're going to see a big improvement. The 406V is powered by the Unisoc T820 processor, which is much more powerful than the old T618 that we had in the 405V. This is the same chip that we had in the RG Cube, if you're familiar with that device. Which is good, because the Cube was a little beast.
Ah! A beast! Someone fetch me my sword so I can vanquish it. Yeah, right. You wouldn't stand a chance. Silence, you insolent creature! Is he always this dramatic?
Yeah, pretty much. We also get 8GB of LPDDR4X RAM, which is perfect for what this thing can run, even the higher end stuff. We have 128GB of UFS 2.2 internal storage. The screen is another big upgrade. It's 4 inches on the diagonal, 4:3 ratio, which is perfect for retro stuff, and a nice crisp 960x720 resolution. We also get AC Wi-Fi, Bluetooth 5.0, and we get a nice big old 5,500 milliamp hour battery. And for the system, we are on Android 13 out of the box, which is nice to see. On the front, we have a D-pad in the upper position, face buttons, dual thumbsticks with RGB lighting, start and select down here, and a menu button in the middle, and the screen up top, obviously. On the right side, we have a power button and volume up and down buttons. On the left, we have an SD card hole and a button that is specifically for opening Anbernic's front end. Up top, we have a USB-C hole for charging and video out, not at the same time though, by the way, and a ventilation grill. Underneath, we have a headphone hole and dual downward firing stereo speakers. And around back, we have bumpers and triggers and another vent grill and those big beautiful booty humps that we all love to see.
Don't you dare gawk at the booty of a king!
Quiet, you.
Ah.
Taking a look at the device shows us that it looks very similar to the last generation, the RG405V. When I reviewed the 405V, I liked it, but I didn't think I'd end up using it very much. but I did. Since making that review, it really grew on me, mostly because of how it felt to use. And the 406V feels just as great. It looks a little weird with this mix of rounded edges and squared off protrusions, but it really is very comfortable to hold. It comes in 3 color options, and I'm not a huge fan of any of them, to be honest. They have a gray, which is sort of like the Super Famicom, which I never liked. They have a white, but with the rainbow buttons, which isn't my thing. And they have this black, which is kind of cool. This is the one I picked, but I would have preferred either a retro Game Boy colorway like they did for the RG405V, or also that freaking wood pattern. The wood was so goofy, but I loved it.
A king should not be made of wood, TechDweeb. A king should be hewn from marble, like a god amongst mortals.
Yeah, but wouldn't a handheld made of marble be too heavy to hold?
Nonsense! A true gamer would bear the weight with pride and strength.
Yeah, well, most of us mere mortals prefer something we can actually lift without getting all sweaty.
You're already sweaty.
I mean, sweatier than usual, I mean. The controls are one area that Anbernic has improved a huge amount, and that's saying a lot because they usually have pretty good controls. But the one thing that they always manage to screw up is the thumbsticks. Not here though. These sticks are freaking incredible. They are nice and big, and they feel like full-size sticks. They are Hall sticks, which means that they use magical magnet technology, not prone to dead zone issues or stick drift, and they have no cardinal snapping. The inputs are more or less perfect, super stable and accurate throughout the entire range of motion. The D-pad is great as well. It has a nice shape, easy to push, and the input quality is perfect. No false diagonals, but easy to hit the diagonals when you want to. It passes all the tests, easy to pull off special moves in fighting games, no accidental ladders in burger time, and the buttons are good. They are a tad on the stiff side, but they're good, they're fine. Another minor improvement is the shape of the bumpers and the triggers. In the past, these were too easy to push. I'd end up tapping them accidentally just by having my fingers resting up there. They fixed that here. The bumpers and triggers are just a little bit more inset, and they have a little bit more firmness to them, so I don't ever tap them accidentally.
TechDweeb, what does it truly mean to be a king? Is it merely a title, or something more profound?
Wow, getting deep there, Your Majesty. I guess being a good king means ruling with wisdom and fairness, and having really good thumbsticks.
Indeed. But is it not also about the legacy that one leaves behind?
Yeah, I guess. It's sort of like your high score in burger time. You gotta leave your mark on the world, right?
Precisely. Future generations will know beyond a doubt how much better I am at burger time than you.
You think so, do ya?
Verily.
Oh, it's on. The sound is good. It's loud and clear, but not super bassy, and the speakers are downward firing, which isn't ideal. Yeah, it gets the job done, but it would be nice if Anbernic tried to focus on giving us really good quality sound in their devices. Speaking of improving, the screen on the 406V is one huge area of improvement. The problem in the past is that these 4-inch screens are usually stuck at 640 by 480 resolution. That's fine for pixel-based retro games, but on 4-inch screens, 640 by 480 isn't really ideal because we can't upscale games beyond that. And also we're limited in the pixel scaling options that we have at that resolution. All that is fixed now because here we have a 960 by 720 resolution. That's a ton of pixels to work with. So we get pixel perfect 3x integer scaling of the older retro stuff that ran at 320 by 240, and we even get pixel perfect 4x GBA scaling, and pixel perfect 5x scaling for Game Boy, Game Boy Color, and Game Gear, and pixel perfect 2x scaling for PSP. And even when the systems don't scale perfectly, the pixel density is so high that it really becomes a non-issue. And other than the scaling options, subjectively, the screen is great. The pixel density makes everything look crisp and clear. It's got great colors, super saturated and gorgeous looking, especially for the pixel art stuff. It's very bright, but not crazy bright. Not as bright as OLED screens, obviously, but it's bright enough even for daytime use, and it gets really nice and dim, so it's great to play under the covers past your bedtime.
Nothing but the finest quality screen for my loyal subjects. With such clarity, one might almost believe they are witnessing history unfold in my royal court. Or rather, your mom's basement.
Hey, my mom's basement is like a palace to me, alright?
Speaking of palaces, I hereby declare you my royal jester.
Wait, what?
Now, dance for your king.
Okay.
That was not quite the majestic display that I envisioned. A little more flair next time, if you please.
Yeah, I'll work on that. The system on this bad boy is Android, which is good and bad. I mean, we don't get GameCube, PS2, 3DS, and Switch on Linux systems, so that's a plus here. But the downside is that Android devices are a lot more work to set up than Linux systems. They're not as newbie friendly. However, the 406V does come with its own front end and games all set up. It's a bit ugly and the emulators aren't really configured in the best way, but it works, and if you want a high-end device that comes pre-configured along with a ton of games, including some higher-end stuff like GameCube, PSP, PS2, Wii, 3DS, this'll get you by. But if you're familiar with Android emulation devices, you know what to expect. I installed ESDE, installed updated versions of my emulators, and within about 30 minutes I had everything all set up and ready to rock. The default Android front end is Quick Step, which is a nice bare bones front end that gets the job done. In the swipe down menu, we can change the power profile between auto mode and high mode. High mode is really only needed for the highest end stuff like GameCube and PS2. The fan has several modes. I generally just keep it on auto because it's not very loud and the device doesn't get hot. And you can change the RGB on the sticks. I like orange because orange is the best color.
Orange? Are you kidding me? That is the color of dweebs, not the color of royalty. A royal RGB thumbstick should inspire awe and dignity.
Well, I don't have any dignity, so orange it is. Gaming on the 406V is just delightful. It's a combination of the ergonomics, the great controls, and the beautiful screen. And this thing can handle a lot of stuff. Switch is going to be hit or miss. I was using the latest version of Sudachi and the easier games ran great and the harder games didn't. I don't personally mess with Switch emulation. It's really not ready for prime time yet, and also I don't want Nintendo to cut off even more of my toes. So let's move along. PS2 is a system that mostly runs well. Maybe 3/4 of PS2 games will be playable out of the box at 2x resolution without any tweaking. Another good chunk will be playable, but maybe only at 1x resolution or with underclocking tweaks. And maybe the top 10% hardest games will have performance issues no matter what you do. The stuff that plays well on here is very enjoyable though, on this 4x3 screen at 2x resolution, and these glorious thumbsticks. GameCube is even better. You can upscale any GameCube game to at least 2x resolution and every game plays great, with the one exception being the Star Wars Rogue Squadron games. They are playable, but there are some hiccups here and there. But like 99.9% of GameCube will play flawlessly, even upscaled. And lots of GameCube runs totally fine, even if you're not on the high performance mode, so you get great battery life like that. Wii is a bit more demanding. I'm sure there are some games that won't work perfectly, but everything I tried did work perfect, even the harder to run stuff. 3DS is good. Everything ran totally fine, even upscaled to 2x resolution, most stuff beyond that. But because we're on a 4x3 screen, 3DS isn't ideal for any game that you need to see both screens, which is most of them really. This is just the nature of 3DS on 4x3 devices though. I actually really like playing PSP on here because the screen is such high resolution and big enough that you can see the games well. All PSP games can be upscaled to 720p and they run great, even when you're not on the high performance mode. And obviously all the other 3D stuff will run well. N64 is perfect. Same thing with PS1, same thing with Saturn, same thing with Dreamcast. This thing is a freaking beast and it can handle almost everything that's possible on Android. But really the stuff that I like playing, as usual, is the older retro stuff. Arcade, Game Boy Advance, NES, Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis. I love that we have so many pixels to work with on this screen. I love GBA with pixel perfect scaling. I love original Game Boy with a dot shader. I love the 8-bit and 16-bit consoles with CRT shaders that look way better here on a high-res screen compared to the 480p devices. I don't personally like widescreen devices all that much. I like my retro doodads to be 4x3 because that's the majority of the stuff that I want to play on them. And I've explained before that I like vertical devices better because they are more comfortable to hold and the screen is higher and more natural to look at. We don't really have many good options for higher end vertical handhelds with big screens. This is pretty much it as of right now, which is a bummer because this thing isn't the device of my dreams or anything, but it's the best high-end vertical right now. Even though this thing is weird, even though it doesn't have the retro vibe that I like, I'm pretty sure I'm going to end up grabbing this often to game on. The RG405V became one of my most used devices because it was so comfortable and convenient. The 406V takes everything that was great about the 405V, fixes all the stuff that was wrong, and supercharges the performance so now you can play all of your GameCube and Wii and 3DS games without compromises, and a ton of PS2 and Switch. It's not going to be for everyone, but you probably know by this point in the review if it's right for you. And if it is right for you, then make sure you grab yours from LitNXT. And if you do, then make sure that you use the code TechDweeb to save 12%. What's wrong, Your Majesty?
Well, I worry that I'm not a good king. What if my reign is remembered for the wrong reasons?
Well, every ruler faces challenges. And besides, you can't please everyone. Just look at my mom. She still thinks I should get a real job.
You have a real job, TechDweeb. You're the jester of a king.
Exactly. A good king. Because you have a good heart and good analog sticks. And most importantly, you have a crown.
Thanks, TechDweeb. You really know how to cheer a king up.
Well, that's my job, isn't it?
Correct. Dance for me, jester.
Ugh.